One of the first things I like to do, especially when I buy a new car, is check the spark plugs. Now, this car supposedly has all new spark plugs and one new ignition coil that a shop had charged over $1,000 to do that, and the valve cover gaskets. And there's a receipt for that, and like I said, it was done by a shop, so it should be good. But I don't like the feeling of driving down the road and wondering if one of my spark plugs is going to get shot out because it wasn't torqued down right. If it comes loose, and there's things that can happen. And so I know this car has the 4-thread cylinder heads, which really isn't a problem as long as they're torqued down. And I have two friends with Mach 1s that both had the DB 9-thread cylinder heads, who both ejected a spark plug because it came loose. And I just want to make sure that these are all tight. So I'm taking out the ignition coils. You saw I took off the cover first, and now I'm taking out all the ignition coils, and I'm not going to remove the spark plugs because they're new. I'm just going to make sure that they're tight in there. Now these plugs aren't having any issues, there's no misfire, there's no problem like that. I just want the peace of mind of driving down the road and knowing that the spark plugs are in there nice and tight and they're not going to come out. Now you can over tighten them, especially with the 4-thread heads. If you go too tight, you'll strip them out and then they'll be loose. So you don't want to crank down on them really tight. They're supposed to be 14 to 15 foot-pounds. That's usually what I do them with, but in this case I just wanted to get the wrench on there and just see if they were snug. I wanted to just test them and make sure that they weren't coming loose, and so far they were all good on this cylinder, on this bank. So let's try the other side. Now on this side it's a little bit more difficult to get to. You have to remove the air intake system, and this came out relatively easy. It's the stock system here, and so just taking that off, and then the 10mm bolts to take off the ignition coil covers, and obviously it's the same procedure after that. I'm just going to go in there and take out all of the ignition coils, and this is where I saw which one was different, because one of them was aftermarket, and that's fine. The car runs very nicely. There's no misfires, there's no reason to suspect that there's a problem. I just want to make sure that this is safe, and I did this with my other yellow Mach 1. I did it with all my other cars. I just want to make sure that I'm going down the road and I don't feel like my plugs can come out at any time, because when you do that you have to get a helo coil or sometimes a whole new cylinder head, and it's just not worth it. I just want to get in here and make sure that they're good. So I went ahead and did that, and all of these checked out just fine. They were all in there nice and snug. So while I was in there, I went ahead and put this all back together, and this is a great time to clean the valve covers off. They get kind of dusty and dirty and grimy, and I thought this is a good time while the intake's off the car. And I checked out the throttle body. Everything's smooth and everything looks just right there too as well. So just a good time to work on the car and enjoy a little bit of a nice little project and clean it up. So here's just cleaning up the valve covers a little bit and just enjoying this. I like that the 03s have the black painted valve covers. The 04 Mach 1s have the raw aluminum, and so do the 3-valve Mustangs. But the Terminators and the Cobras from 96 to 04 have powder coated valve covers that are gray. So those are not to be confused with the raw aluminum 04 Mach 1 valve covers. And for those who do not know, that is a cost reason. The only reason that the 04 Mach 1s have raw aluminum valve covers is because they save the cost on the paint. And so that was something I read in the book about the Mach 1, which was really fun. So here I'm just installing the intake system back the way it should be. You always want to make sure that you have this on right, because if not, then you might get some rough idle, or the engine's not going to get the air it needs and the right mixture and everything, and make sure the mass airflow is plugged in and everything. And that was it. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this update on the car. It's always fun to do a nice little project and enjoy taking care of your cars and making sure they're running right. So stay tuned for more updates.